Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday, February 26th edition of the DL Sportscast. So, first things first. This show is either going to be really good or really piss poor because if you remember yesterday how I said I had to, get an early night of sleep so that I wasn't able to watch, the LeBron-Zion matchup finally. Well, none of that happened. I ended up staying up. It wasn't for LeBron and Zion. I ended up watching Utah State and San Jose State to see exactly how many points San Jose State would score in the first half of their game against Utah State on the road. Spoiler alert, the answer was 14. I was up too late. Work went long today, so I don't really have a full set of notes to go by, but I do have a bunch of tabs open, so we'll just sort of skim, see how it goes, and wing it a little bit. So it could be really cool because I'm just sort of seeing everything for the first time and then formulating opinions on that, or it just could go to shit real quickly. Who knows? But we do have to get into some of the good news, and there is actually something that I'm curious about. I don't remember exactly what I stated the score for the game. One of the games was last night. Okay, I said... Okay, I was as close as I thought it was. Okay, so yesterday's picks, I went with Michigan State over Iowa, and that game, for the longest time, didn't think I was going to get that right. Iowa was leading most of the game, and Michigan's star player brought them just on a tear within the last 5 minutes of the game. I think that was how long it took them to really take a lead. I know they led at one point. It was like 21-20 or 22-21 early. And then Iowa just went on a 7-0 run, ran away with it. But didn't get far enough ahead that Michigan State didn't have a chance to come back, and they did. So I get that one right. Good on me for going with my gut instinct to take Oklahoma in a game where they were, almost a must-win situation. And I remember as I was watching that game, hearing that a loss yesterday would have dropped them out. The win keeps them where they are. So they don't really move up or down. They don't move up, but they certainly don't fall out. And then, of course, I watched Utah State beat the absolute piss out of San Jose State. Why that I was so intrigued by watching a team not score their first bucket until it was 19-0, and then only score 14 points in the first half. I mean, it was 50-14 at halftime. I don't know why I was intrigued to watch that. But the other game that I picked yesterday was the LeBron versus Zion game, and it lived up to the hype. Zion got praise from even LeBron after the game. Lakers get the win. I don't think I was actually too far off on that score, but the important thing is 1, 2, 3. In you go. All right, so that makes our new total to the IFC charity $5, which is a good start. All right, so that being said, let's get into the meat of today's content, which, again, starting off with some of the bubble. Actually, no, we're going to do NFL first. NFL, very important stuff going on. And let me see, which tab did I leave it in? I left it here. Okay. So I was a little surprised when I had heard that the CBA was going to the player reps for each of the teams. From what I remember, the owners were so tight on this. I can't remember if there was only 30 votes on it, but it was like 16-14. It was super close. And then when I heard the vote, I didn't think that the player reps were going to send this forward. I felt like the player reps were going to demand a lot more than what they were being given. But from when I heard more of what was being given, I can sort of understand it because, yes, it gives you 17-game seasons. Yes, it restructures the playoffs. But there's 12, I think, less of the full padded practices. There's going to be one less preseason game. So in reality, it's kind of like you're sort of taking away one, and I can see why the owners would want to do this. You're taking away essentially one of those games where none of the stars play. So you're essentially taking away, as far as I'm concerned, one of those games. Nobody really cares to watch that fourth preseason game if none of the first stringers are going to play. So from that aspect, I think that's a positive. And also, there's a big pay increase for the veteran minimum or the league minimum. And, you don't think, when you hear about how many millions and millions of dollars the NFL players make, you don't normally think that $100,000 is that big of a deal. But to people who are practice squad guys or, third string guys, that money is actually quite a big deal, and there's more of those talents in the NFL than there are star talents. So, in a really strange way, I'm not surprised that this passed. Now, the vote was really close. It was 17 yay, 14 nay, and 1 abstained. So, it's not a big unanimous deal, which in these labor negotiations, I think it's really hard to find, deals that are going to be unanimous or, an extreme majority. So now it's gone on to the entirety of the players' union. I don't know where it's going to go from here. At this point, I'm not going to be surprised if it fails. I'm not going to be surprised, though, if it passes. If it does pass, though, it's not going to be by a very wide margin. And that would actually be where the surprise is if it does pass, if it passes by a wide margin. But I think it's just going to be a basic majority for that. Let's see where to go next. Let's go to the NCAA men's games from last night. We got the two right. UNC finally figured out how to finish a game. I switched over to that game at the end of Oklahoma and Texas Tech, and I see North Carolina up, 6 points or something like that. And my only thought was, here we go again, guys. They're going to blow it. They're going to blow it pretty hardcore. And they didn't. Now, what does this mean for the losing team in this case, which is NC State? Well, for NC State, it certainly doesn't help them. But from what I understand, it doesn't really knock them down any pegs. Which, again, I think given how bad North Carolina's been lately, I feel like it should knock them down a peg. I think they were in... Where were they? I feel like I should know where they are right away. I think they were in... were they in a last four-in game? They might have been in a last four-in game. Let me go to the bracket real quick, and the bracket projection real quick, and I can find it. Yeah, they were listed as the last... They were actually listed as the last team in. So, It does depend a little bit on what happens tonight, because there are some important games tonight. Like Richmond plays tonight. I think either UCLA or Stanford play tonight. So there are some games there where NC State could potentially get knocked out if a team wins. I want to take a look at the Pac-12 real quick, because the Pac-12, I feel like, is the one where the games are that could potentially trip up. No, yeah, Utah and Stanford is tonight. Okay, so Stanford plays a game tonight, and that's very important for them. If Stanford gets the win, why shouldn't they leap NC State after that loss last night? I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. UCLA, I believe, plays Arizona or Arizona State. So there's if they win, who's to say that they don't maybe take the leap? Richmond plays tonight. Do they take the leap? Maybe. Yeah, they play George Washington. That's a game that Richmond shouldn't lose. So, we got NC State losing. We got Oklahoma with a win. Utah State ended up, I can't remember what the final score was. Like I said, it was 50-14.5. At that point, I gave up. Oh, well. Let's see. I believe there was another key bubble game last night. Oh, yeah. Maybe not bubble game, but there was a big upset last night, and I can't for the life of me figure it out. In the same way, like a few weeks ago, I talked about Vanderbilt upsetting LSU and how that probably should never have happened. In the same way, vein of that, there's probably no explanation why Duke had that choke game against Wake Forest last night. I mean, their defense was so bloody awful. There was no excuse for it. Xavier got a big win. So I say big win. That's one of those ones where they just, didn't come away with a bad loss. Let's see here. When was this game? That was over the weekend. I'm checking out some of the bubble teams. I'm trying to remember who played yesterday. This is what happens when you don't do show notes. Like I said, you sort of lose track of what you've got. Let's see. The next game actually for them is tomorrow for Indiana. I'm trying to think. There was another big game recently, and I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. Wichita State is tomorrow as well. I know Mississippi State played. They lost to Kentucky. Oh, no, that's the other game. I knew I was forgetting one. Okay. Mississippi State tops Alabama. That's a very good resume win right there for them. Let's see. Yeah, no, okay, so they move. I don't know if they've moved up. I haven't seen what the bracket says there because there hasn't been an update on it today. Their next game is this weekend against Mizzou. I think if you go 2-0, you move up, especially again. What do you do with NC State after that loss yesterday? So that's there's still. What did I see? 44 teams vying for 28 spots. Let's see. Is there any? Yeah, Duke's stunned. There's not really much else in the way of news for college basketball. It's just who gets the big games when. Let's see. Tonight we actually have some very important games. Villanova and St. John's. Villanova's solid in, so no real worries there. Penn State and Rutgers. Now, Rutgers in the Bubble Watch article, still says, I think, work to do. I still think they're in. I still think they're safely in. The game to watch is Minnesota and Maryland. If Minnesota pulls off an upset tonight in that game, I would definitely look for them to really move up. But we'll have to we'll have to see. Richmond plays George Washington. That's another important key game tonight. I'm not Lenardi. I'm not the guy with CBS Sports, so I'm only making speculations here, but I think that the biggest thing that could really change anything tonight would be Minnesota beating Maryland. I want to kind of talk about some baseball here for a little bit. I know, so yesterday we got the news of Luis Severino needing Tommy John surgery, going to be out a full year. The news doesn't get any better for the New York Yankees, and this one really could play another major role. Now, it's not a year-ending surgery, but it's also one of those. It's also one of those injuries that, if you don't let it really heal, was going to linger for a long time. And it's that their slugger Giancarlo Stanton is going to. It says he's going to miss opening day, or will likely miss opening day. However, this is one of those. It's a grade 1 strain, which means it's not overly serious. I've had this strain / sprain before. It lingers is the problem. Like you think you're good, then you're not. So I mean, if hopefully he can come back healthy. Again, I don't love the Yankees, but I don't want to see star players get hurt. It's bad for baseball. It's really bad for baseball. Let's see. What else do we have? Let's see. So, yeah, that's more devastating news for the Yankees. I tell you, man, when it rains, it pours sometimes. The other thing that's kind of cool, and it's always a fun story to follow, good old Tim Tebow. Apparently, he's going to play for the Philippines in WBC World Baseball Classic qualifiers. So, it's a fun story watching how he's transitioned from football to baseball. He's still a lot of fun to listen to on the SEC network. I hope he continues to succeed in baseball. I want to see him. I want to see him with a full regular season at bat in the major leagues, because he could be the first person in a long time to have played both in the NFL and MLB. So there's a lot of really cool potential stories coming out of there. Oh, wow. Okay, so I just switched over to the NBA headlines. Joel Embiid fined for giving the middle finger and cursing on TV. Now, I know I just did it, and I curse rather infrequently here. Infrequently. Frequently. But I'm not on FCC rules, so all right. I got how much was he fined? $25,000. The $25,000 middle finger. For me, that's just funny. I'm just gonna giggle at that and move on. There's not really a ton of really interesting news about that. The Sixers don't expect Ben Simmons back anytime soon. I don't know what to make of this. Embiid and Simmons do not seem to get along on the 76ers, and it's almost as if the team plays better with one or the other, but not together. I don't know if their styles are just too clash or anything like that, but they just can't seem to get it together when they are together. Are there any really interesting matchups? Because I do want to pick one for tonight, because... Yeah, there's one. Bucks and the Celtics and the Jazz. I will make that one of my picks for tonight. The Rockets and the Grizzlies also have a pretty good decent matchup. But I guess the biggest news coming out of today is Joel Embiid getting fined $25,000. For flipping the bird. Oh, there's an interesting story. All right, so Zach Levine went on a little bit of a rant during their game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oh gosh, that's a close loss. They lost 124-122 in that game. And apparently, Levine was on camera mouthing, "I have fucking 40 points" to someone on the sideline before drilling a three-pointer. So I think he's more frustrated. So the story is that it's not directed at their coach. And I believe that. I think that's more him getting frustrated with the team around him. That team is not a good team, and he is a stud player on that bad team. In the same way that sort of like you have Beal in Washington, who is a great player on just a shitty team. I'm not surprised that maybe you get a little frustrated. I mean, is it called for? No, not at all. You don't. I mean, I've yelled at teammates before. Teammates have yelled at me. It's when you're not having a good year, emotions run high. I understand that. But man, he really a 40-point effort, and again, Beal had 2 back-to-back 50-point efforts, and they still lost. So, it's kind of a shame, and I still think that for as good as Beal was, I think it's one of the reasons why he got left off the All-Star team this year. All right. What do I got left? Do I have anything left? Some NFL stuff. Yeah, okay. So we talked about the CBA to start. I do have some really interesting things to talk about here in just a little bit. But the NFL, so let's see. So quarterback talk for the Washington Redskins, and it's again, we've talked about this a little bit before. I know we have. One of the interesting cases that's being talked about with new coach Ron Rivera in Washington is what they're going to do with the quarterback they drafted last year, Dwayne Haskins, because you still have Alex Smith in the fold, and he wants to come back and play. And there's a lovely little statement out now that, where is it? Redskins like Haskins, but they're pondering other options, or they're pondering all options. Are they really going to look at taking a quarterback at 2? I think they'd be dumb not to take Chase Young as at the 2 spot. I really do. But are they potentially going to look at Tua? Maybe they'll... Now, idea. Team really wants Tua. They're worried about somebody at... they're worried about... there's rumors that Detroit will take him and sit him behind Stafford for a year. Like, if you're Miami, do you make you have a lot of picks. Do you maybe trade up with Washington? Get some draft capital. And if you're Washington, you get draft capital. If you're Miami, you get Tua Tagovailoa. That's a theory for me. Or another team might send a first rounder this year and next year to get that 2 pick. When I see all options, I don't see like them potentially drafting. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I don't know if Washington wants to take Tua. You're gonna. I like Haskins more than maybe some people. I thought Haskins played really well down the stretch. With a quarterback that's already kind of dealing with an injury, do you really want to take a pick on Tua at 2? Are you going to get rid of Alex Smith and draft Tua, have Tua sit behind a second-year guy? I don't think that makes any sense. Now, if there's maybe the idea of doing what Arizona did, which was trade Josh Rosen the year before and then taking a quarterback at 2, maybe. But would he be coming in to start right away, or would he be sitting behind Alex Smith or another quarterback because of all the interesting free agent options there are out there? There's a lot to think about with what Washington could do, but I think they should just stay where they are, take Chase Young. I think the interesting trade bait is going to be now there could be again interesting trade bait if Miami wants to move up ahead of Detroit to take two of there if they're worried that Detroit may take him. But in which case, then what is that going to say for Haskins if they draft? Would they draft another quarterback later, like Herbert or the kid from is it BYU or Utah State or the kid from Washington? I don't know. And again, we're not really going to have a very clear. We're not going to have a super clear image of that until we take a good look at where some of these quarterbacks like Brady and Rivers are going to go. Bridgewater, all these free agents that are out there. And another case of a core guy coming out and saying, hey, this is our guy. Mike McCarthy has said Dak Prescott is the QB to get Dallas a title. Really? Re-sign him. Do anything you can to get a deal done if you think he's that quarterback. Simple as that. I don't know if they franchise him. If I'm Dak and they franchise me, I wouldn't sign. I want a nice, lucrative, long-term deal. And if the coach is coming out and saying, this is the guy to bring the Cowboys a title, where's my money? Where's my locked-in contract? That's if they can get Dak signed and with a coach like McCarthy, I'm going to be interested to see if they gel well together. I think that what really helps is that I think Dak's style works well with what McCarthy wants to do on offense. I mean, McCarthy had... I can't remember if he was the head coach there when Brett retired or was traded to the Jets or signed with the Jets. I can't remember if he was the coach that year, but I know that McCarthy had his glory years with Aaron Rodgers, who is a very mobile, gunslinger-type quarterback. Now, Dak, I don't think has Aaron Rodgers' arm strength, but he's very mobile, very maneuverable, and that works well in the McCarthy system. Even though I know they're going to hold on to what's his name as the offensive coordinator. He played quarterback for Boise State in some of those glory years. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and that's going to bug the piss out of me. But McCarthy says that Prescott's the guy. I won't believe it until they offer him a nice, lucrative, long-term deal. All right, this next story, I gotta say, I have seen a lot of great names in sports, and one of my favorite sketches from Key and Peele is the sketch where they do the East-West All-Star game, and they come up with the most ridiculous names, like Hingle McCringleberry, and all these great games. The running gag is they always have, like, the last kid on the West is some white guy from BYU or Utah. There's just so much humor with that, and he's got the, like, most basic names. Great sketch. However, legitimately, this is probably one of the best names I've ever seen ever in the world of sports, and this shows just how immature I am, because I saw this headline last night as I was watching my basketball, and I'm like, wait, is that really this guy's name? Yes, it is this guy's name. And I think I have, if I remember correctly, because I don't have it in front of me at this particular second, he is the head of media relations for the IOC, I think, or he's the head of media at IOC. He's essentially really high up in the International Olympic Committee. He's a former Canadian swimmer, and his name is Dick Pound! How funny is that? Oh my goodness! Like, when they were naming this, for one thing, Pound is a very uncommon last name. That's fine. But to give this name Richard Pound, knowing very well that people are going to call him Dick Pound, is hilarious to me. That's something you see out of an adult novelty company. Bad Dragon, that's on you guys. Oh dear. So he came out yesterday, and he's the longest serving member on the IOC committee right now, is what I'm reading here. He's giving 3 months. There's a 3-month window to decide the fate with the Tokyo Olympics. Now, this is a big deal because there's already trials going on. I've watched a lot of, soccer trials. We have like the World Cup coming, but there's also been the Olympics. I've got friends that swam in the Olympics. Gold medal winners, by the way. Love you, Nick Thoman. The fate of the Olympics is very much up in the air thanks to the coronavirus. Apparently, we're not putting enough lime in the coronavirus. Okay, admittedly, I'm beating a dead horse there. It's been a long day. Give me a break. But in all seriousness, and there's a lot of debate. Do you go on with the Olympics? Do you not? There's a lot of talk about Team USA, especially, not going for fear of the coronavirus. NBA players play in the Olympics usually, or there's a good portion of NBA players that want to. With the coronavirus spreading in Asia so fast, I'm not wholly convinced that players are going to sign up to want to go all overseas in the middle of such a health crisis. How much more can I find about this? Now, there is an official that says the Olympics are going on as planned. It really would be a tragedy because I love the Olympics. The Olympics, and especially the Summer Games. The Summer Games has a lot of stuff that you don't usually get a chance to see here. And one of them, everyone asks, so what's your favorite Olympic sport? Is it all of them? Because, yes, I like a lot of them. I love almost all of them. But here are the great ones that you don't really get to see a lot of here in the U.S. unless you have weird international channels and stuff like that. You get cricket. You get field hockey. Now, I know we do play a lot of collegiate field hockey out here. But my absolute favorite thing to watch during the Olympics is team handball. Soccer meets basketball. And it's really, really funny because one of the reasons I think I like it is because, in spite of the fact that I did play a lot of basketball in my high school days, I wasn't always the most in shape. I was a bench guy. I came off the bench. I was, a role guy, bench guy. I had my moments, yes, but one thing that was always my thing is, I was that kid. I was picked last in gym class all the time, except for one game, and we called it speedball. But in essence, it was exactly team handball. And, I would always be picked first. And they're like, you, goalie, now. Because it's not as big of a soccer net. It's not as big as a soccer net. So there's less space you have to completely cover. And I did it a little differently. Most of the team handball I see played is more along the akin of like a soccer goalie. I played it more like a hockey goalie, and for some reason that just really worked for me. So it's one of the reasons I love watching team handballs, because that was actually something that I was decently good at. I kind of, am like, and the U.S. doesn't play it. I don't know if there's like a little like beer league, like how you have like beer league like darts and stuff like that. I don't know, or like pickup basketball. Is there pickup team handball in the United States? Because if there is locally, I want in. Like And I think we'd be good at it. We're pretty decent. Again, it's a cross between soccer and basketball, essentially. It's so much fun. And actually, there's like creases, so it's basketball meets hockey meets soccer. So from that aspect, if I don't get a chance to see team handball this year in the Olympics, I'm actually going to be a little sad and disappointed. But yeah, that's currently the state of the Olympics. Oh boy, just that is a rant right there in itself. One of the continuing on, and we're gonna go back and talk a little bit more about the Kobe memorial, because something has come out of that I think is actually really cool. Now, one of the people in this world that I don't always think too highly of, and for no reason, I can't actually think of a reason. Maybe it's just because I think he's gone out of his way. Okay. Let's just be fair. There's no reason why I don't like Scott Boras. Maybe we're just built to hate. Maybe we're just built to hate the agents. But this is a cool story, and this goes back to the Kobe Bryant tribute. Apparently, Kobe was texting with Dean. What's his name? Pelinka. Rob Pelinka. I thought it was Dean. Don't ask me why. So when Kobe was in the helicopter, some of the last texts he sent were to Rob Pelinka, who is, I believe, a front office guy in the for the Los Angeles Lakers. And one of the things that he wanted was to get an internship for the daughter of one of the fellow friends of his that was in the helicopter with him. The teenage daughter of the college baseball coach, who was along with Kobe, is going to get a very special internship that Scott Boras has created in honor of Kobe Bryant, and you could almost say it was Kobe's last wish to help this daughter of a good friend of his further, get an internship to help further her career as an agent and in sports management. Now that is cool. That is one more just little feel-good story to come out of this very bleak tragedy. Good on Scott Boras, man. Sometimes we don't talk very highly of the agents, and because we know that they represent these players that are getting multi-millions upon millions of dollars, and these agents get big cuts out of that. And he's very cutthroat with how he makes his deals. I mean, he's legitimate. If he's not the top, he's at least in the top like 2 or 3 sports managers that's out there at this particular time. So, round of applause for him. I mean, good on him doing right by the world. I don't know if I'd ever cut it as a sports agent, but man, that's a cool story. All right. I think that's about as much as I can get out here. I know it is almost 7 o'clock as I finish this recording, so let's find some games to pick. I'm gonna go to the NCAA scoreboard. All right. Where do I want to go for this one? Let's go Big Ten. Let's do Rutgers and Penn State. Penn State is the home team. Rutgers, I think, needs a win. Now, I think Rutgers beat them earlier this year, Penn State's coming off of an upset loss against Indiana, and they're at home. I think Penn State's gonna. I still think Rutgers, even with this loss, will be safely in the tournament. I'm gonna take Penn State in this one. I'm gonna give it a 75-70 game. I think it'll be close. Let's see. You know what? I'll do the Richmond and George Washington game just because that's another game that means a lot for the bubble. And I don't want to do 2 Big Ten games. I feel like that'd be kind of cheating it a little bit. So I'll take Richmond to beat George Washington. I think it'll be a 15-ish point game. Let's say 80-65. And let's do one NBA game again. NBA games. We're going to do the Celtics and we're going to do the Jazz. Celtics have been playing extraordinarily well as of late. They've been one of the teams to beat in the East. Behind, everyone's behind the Bucks, and I gotta say, I think I glossed. I don't even think I glossed over this. I think I just skipped it. The Bucks have already clinched a playoff spot. They've clinched a playoff spot faster than anybody has ever done it before. Even faster than that Golden State team that set the regular season win-loss record. They clinched it faster than they did. And it's only because the West was so much stronger that year that Golden State had to go further into the season before they clinched. I can't remember how many wins they're on. Milwaukee's on pace for, but that game that they played against Toronto last night, bonkers. I mean, it's a big revenge game. It really feels like a big revenge game because of the Eastern Conference Finals last year between Toronto and Milwaukee. Oh boy, Milwaukee's on a mission. As much as I'm a Celtics fan, show me someone who's going to beat Milwaukee in the East. And then, if they make it to the NBA Finals like we project them, they might even be favored over the Lakers, the Clippers, anybody that comes out of the West. We'll have to see when they get there. But, congratulations to the Bucks on clinching a playoff spot already. The team that I hope beats you in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics, will take care of business tonight on the road against the Jazz. We'll go 120-109 for that one. Let's just throw. There's no logic to my numbers. I don't look at the over-unders. I just pick a number and it comes out. Thank you so much, everyone, for sort of putting up with this hastily put together, sort of a wild as we go sort of show for today. Promise I'm going to try and get myself a little more situated for tomorrow's. It's time for me to sort of sign off now, get ready to put this up. I know it's going to be up during some of these games, having tipped off by the time it gets there. I'm sorry, again, long day. Tomorrow I'll have, a set of notes to go by to sort of keep things a little more organized. Thank you very much, everyone, for putting up with me for this. Coming up tomorrow we'll cover some of the games that we went over tonight, and I've decided how I'm going to do my tournament bracket challenge this year. It's going to be spicy. I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a great one.